Sorry for the late start, folks. I had to make sure I was dressed properly. For the Furries, Get Breadpilled podcast. Let me, put some earbuds in. Alright, here we go. Yes, excellent. Perfect. I am prepared. Alright, let me make sure everyone's in the server. Now this is white culture. Hold on. Alright, I see 1, 2... Yep, I see everyone there. Okay, let me bring them in. Oh, God. It's gonna get so hot in this. Alright. Just a moment. Gonna be bringing you in. As always, because we're doing a podcast thing, I'll be muting alerts, but they will still appear, and I will go over donos afterwards. Because I'm gonna interrupt their fucking podcast. Fucking reading donos? Get that shit out of here. Alright, unmuting you guys. One by one. Real nice, like.
Ooh. Here we go.
Yep.
Oh, well.
Hello.
Hey, what's up?
Good evening.
Alright, everyone sounds good. Wait, hold on, just to make sure audio levels are good. Zulikoth, can you say something?
Yes.
Perfect.
Testing.
Khan, can you say something?
Hey.
I'll turn you up slightly. And CMDR, can you say something?
Eagles from Sublime.
Yep, you're all good. Beautiful. How are we doing, folks?
We doing good. We're
called
gonna,
you.
okay. We're gonna talk about Kurdish anarchism today. We're talking about Öcalan. We're talking about democratic confederalism. So, all right, let's get right down to it. So,
Yes. Yes.
yes. Just kind of general impressions of the article. First off, just Öcalan's sort of spiel of about how a democratic confederalist society works and operates. And of course, oh god, I just looked at the stream and saw you in your fucking onesie. I love it.
Listen,
That's
don't worry
great.
about it, okay? It's just a
Where's the
Kigu
stream?
from a while back. Listen, I thought I would play the part.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to kind of have their first impressions on the article or just anything, we can start off with that, and then we can kind of go into it and see what it actually says and have a conversation about it.
So, I didn't do the homework.
Oh God, no. Oh.
So if I could crib anyone else's notes on this article, that would be phenomenal.
Oh my
All right,
goodness.
so I can give a little bit of a background to what the PKK are, what they do, and like who Öcalan is. So
Hit us up.
Yeah, let's do it. So Öcalan is the leader of the PKK, of course, and he in the 70s and 80s was the PKK kind of started out as this Marxist foundation and really kind of more led towards anarchism as it went along. Like it started out very authoritarian left and then started to go more libertarian right. Our essay that we read today, which is just democratic confederalism, it's kind of like akin to the Communist Manifesto, where it just lays out the goals of what democratic confederalism is and what it does, and it goes into a little bit of history, just talking about nation states and how they operate, as well as just how the Turkish state in particular has operated in relation to the Kurds. There's a lot of important history that I think he kind of implies, but he doesn't really mention. Like one of the things that he says, let me find it in my notes. Yeah. If anyone wants to chime in or
I'd love to chime in with one quick thing.
Yeah.
Could you all introduce yourselves, please, along with this podcast and what your goals are?
Oh, yeah. So, I'm Confite. I am a history major at FSU, currently studying labor relations in the late Ottoman Empire. Trying to, I'm writing an essay on that, and then I'm also, we're all furries here, you see. And the goal of this
Yes, me
podcast
too.
is
Hello.
basically, the reason why we're doing this is because the furry community is a really good place. And it's a very great rallying point for a lot of people who are, gender and sexual minorities. And it's a really great place to form solidarity around this. And then we're trying to use the furry community as a jumping off point to fight for the people in the community. Basically, we think the best way to do that is through anarchism and doing this podcast. We're basically reading theory and we're breaking it down for the working class.
Absolutely, the furry working class.
Oh
Well,
yeah,
of
hell
course.
yeah.
Yeah, and CMDR. What about you?
Oh, hi, I'm Athena, and not much going on professionally. I'm a commission artist, kind of a huge stoner, but I once
Are you
picked up-
currently high?
Yes.
Thank you for bringing yourself to this podcast.
She has never been like not high on a podcast. I
Okay,
don't
there's
think.
one episode we did it, and that was kind of a character break. So,
Well, there was that one episode where we were all drunk out of our minds, but that hasn't come out yet. But
I don't know that one.
it's the fourth episode.
Oh dear God, was I actually drunk? Wow.
I was drunk, but anyways.
I'm straight edge for all of my streams.
That's fine.
What a hero. That's no fun. I want to see drunk Vosh on stream. I would love that.
If only. I'm alcohol intolerant, actually. I can't drink
Oh,
alcohol.
that's a shame.
Yeah.
Depression.
Yeah, I used to drink myself into a stupor back in early college, but I did it one too many times, and now my body just rejects all alcohol. Even the smell or the slightest taste of the weakest, fruitiest, most feminine alcohol will immediately make me nauseous.
Oh,
I mean,
God.
that shit's, real powerful shit,
Yeah.
And
Also, I
Zulika.
cuss a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, I hear
so-
you just fine. Hit us up. Share yourself with me.
So I'm a dragon. I've been an anarchist. Well, I've called myself an anarchist for about 12 years. I've been an anarchist for about 10 years. Blame the ANCAPs for getting to me first, but I'm better now.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I know how it is.
Yeah. I don't really have any other interesting qualifications as far as like college or history degree, anything like that.
And
So along for the ride.
before we really dive in, is there a link to your previous
Alright,
podcast
great.
that you would like me to throw into chat?
Yes. There is. We actually just launched our Patreon today as well, so that's going out. But I have the SoundCloud. We're on SoundCloud, Spotify. I believe we're on iTunes. I've been trying to work with the RSS. We have an RSS feed, and I'm trying to work with that. And then we also have a website. So if you just look up breadpilledfurries.com /podcast, that should be it. Or it's breadpilledfurries.wixsite.com because I need to pay for Wix. But anyways,
Throw the links in chat when you're next available too.
Yeah,
General
I
chat.
can-
I'll post them in the site.
yeah, I'm listening in a general chat. Let me grab the SoundCloud, but yeah, we're just getting started, so we've been doing this for a couple of months now.
Wait, are you a SoundCloud rapper? I heard SoundCloud.
Actually, like there were so many bot accounts trying to comment on our SoundCloud that were just very obviously like fake SoundCloud rappers. So that was funny. I had to go through them and delete them.
Will there be a
And by-
musical element to today's podcast?
Yes.
If you want, I'm not drunk enough to do karaoke right now. I'm not drunk at all, so I need to get a little bit more drunk if I want to do karaoke.
One more hit and we can sing.
Listen, work on it, okay? Get on that shit, all right? I didn't come here for no goddamn fucking musicless anarchy session.
Hey, I'm
what if you
already
can
one
do
beer
it?
in. We're heading there, drinking me some Heineken.
Good, do it up.
The literature can get a little dry sometimes.
Oh, we'll make
Yeah.
it spicy. I actually am illiterate, so all I'll be bringing to this is spicy dialectical analysis of secondhand takes you guys have off the original theory.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
The whole reason for this podcast, the reason why it's furry based, is also because theory. Let's be honest, people. Theory kind of boring, but furries in theory. Now that's exciting. You get that make my pee hard.
Now, can I
That's all I'm
clarify?
Okay, but you can actually literally make porn of theory.
No, don't do that.
For one, you absolutely can. For two, that I'm pretty sure that's what Phenomenology of Spirit was. Hegel just wrote it that thick so that his mom and dad wouldn't, like, have the time to peek through it all and realize what was going on between the pages. But
Oh my
here's
God.
I need this clarified, okay? So furry podcast, I'm here for it. I don't discriminate. All right, I jerk it for furry porn like all the time. I'm doing it right now, actually. My hands are off screen. Now, quick question: Is
I
this
see your
furry?
hand.
Is this furry like wholesome art community furry, or is this like to prepare myself for the stream? I lube up the XL Bad Dragon Nodinator. And
We're the other one. I mean,
We're usually pretty whole. I mean, we
I'll
talk
draw some
about.
weird fucking shit, but I only do that for money.
Oh God, don't talk about him again. So we usually are pretty wholesome, but like we throw some risque stuff in there. I for legal purposes on iTunes, I marked them all as adult content because we swear a lot, and that's fine. So that's
Damn
about
fucking
it.
Right.
gotcha,
We do
wonderful.
say-
just clarifying,
we do-
just clarifying.
Oh yeah. We do say some weird things, but that's just everyone says weird things, so we're good.
Yeah. I brought my Chance XL, I brought my coloring book. I've got all flavors of the wholesome to degenerate spectrum available here as a side piece to what we'll be discussing.
Oh hell
You
yeah!
might want to settle on a plushie and maybe a Dakimakura.
All right, we can do that. It's so fucking hot in this thing. All right, hit it up. I want to learn some goddamn theory. I'm here for
Look,
it.
it's almost
Alright.
winter here, so I kind of want one now. You just said that.
All right, so Kurdish Workers' Party, the PKK. I don't know how to pronounce it in Kurdish, and I'm not going to try. So in the 80s, they were started like in mid 70s and stuff like that, and really when they started doing things was after it was after the coup of 1980. So there was in 1980, there was a huge coup in Turkey. In Turkish history, there's a lot of coups. Since the founding of the Turkish Republic in 1923, there's usually been about a coup every 20-ish years. That's about how long. Last one was 2013, but even then, the 2013 one is a very much in quotes. But
In Turkey?
Yeah.
Wasn't
So-
I'm terribly sorry, just to refresh. The last coup in Turkey, wasn't this like the army is sworn to defend the constitution and every once in a while the army will like seize power from the electorate and then like the whole process starts over again kind of things?
That is exactly how it is.
Huh.
That is exactly kind of how it is in Turkish history for the most part. That's kind of the idea behind it. But so basically,
That is wild.
Yeah. So Kenan Evren was the guy who led the coup, and he had a huge crackdown on, especially on the because Kurdish people of Kurdish descent were getting kind of rowdy about things. So he had a huge crackdown on Kurdish, and one of the biggest things he did was the government banned the word Kurds, Kurdistan, and Kurdish, and you couldn't speak the language in public or in private. So, which is huge because even like the Ottoman Empire didn't ban things in private life. Like this was unprecedented in Turkish history. This is like insane.
Yeah, it's
that they
pretty
did this.
disgusting, I'd say.
Yeah, it's an authoritarian thing. So after that, basically what ends up happening is the PKK becomes a paramilitary group in the mountains, and it's kind of like in the spirit of the Barbudos of Cuba. And they sort of do hit and run attacks from the mountains, specifically targeting police stations and military outposts. And after that, of course, then Turkey tried to, taking a note from the U.S., tried to do some counterinsurgency operations in the region, which basically is code word for counterinsurgency. Usually when you hear that, it's code word for genocide, because the only way, the ideology behind it, it's mostly about threatening people and making it so that it is unlivable in the region, or it's at least you can't, like, they make it so that you can't harbor people. They don't like it. Like if you show any sort of support for the PKK, they'll just kill you.
Well,
That's what they
typically,
want.
like that's kind of what happens with any ethnic independence movement, right? The sentiment the government is trying to crack down on isn't the militaristic wing of that movement; it's the movement itself. And the best way to crack down on ethnic independence is to crack down on the ethnicity itself. So invariably, any anti-terrorist action against the more radical cells of an ethnic independence movement are going to come across against that entire ethnic group. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's how it's going to be in execution, but they're never going to present it that way.
Yeah, I would say it is, to use the academic nomenclature, rather cringe of Erdogan.
Erdogan's a whole thing. That's we'll get to Erdogan.
It's pretty
And
cringe, I would say.
the entire AKP pretty cringe. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
You
But-
kids and your weird slang.
Oh, and ooh, sorry. You have to end every sentence. It's
yeah.
like over
Yeah,
with the
you have to do
walkie-talkie.
Ooh,
That's exactly what it is.
we're talking about Daddy Ocalan's bulgy wulgy. Ooh.
Oh dear God, kill me now.
Oh God. So now we're into the 90s, and Ocalan was basically the figurehead behind this movement for a while. He democratic confederalism as a concept kind of comes into play later because, like I said, from the mid 90s, like he was pretty much a it actually had weirdly enough it had ties to Saddam Hussein and his Ba'athist party. So there was that. So it was still pretty much a authoritarian sect. And then once you start getting to the 90s, Ocalan gets captured in 1999, and there's basically they know that they can't kill him, so they make him try to say that he was sentenced to death, but he actually was commuted to life in prison. So they wanted to kill him, but they couldn't because Turkey was seeking entry to the EU. It seemed bad to kill a huge politician, just for going against the state. So they didn't like that.
It's kind of similar to the Luna Livre situation, right? Sometimes a person has so much popular support that even if you were going to kill off their subordinates, killing them would probably spark an uprising.
Oh yeah, especially in the Kurdish regions. Also, for a little bit of a geography lesson, if you're wondering like where quote unquote Kurdistan is, it's pretty much around the southern Anatolia into Syria and into Iraq a little bit. So it's that kind of area. And yeah. So let me look.
I'm glad, all things told, glad I was born in America. A lot less complicated here, you know, in terms of whether or not I'm going to die tomorrow.
Well, it really depends on the.
Because I'm white. See, I needed that qualifier.
Oh
Yeah, I was about to say. I was like,
So, I'm sorry. Listen, I forgot the qualifier. Okay, very important.
A lot of people tomorrow.
Yeah, the other parts of the world can be kind of fucked. I'm just for as much of I hate dumb centrism. At least we don't have massive amounts of violence, I guess. But
don't we? I mean, for a first world country, we've got a pretty.
Well, there's gun violence.
Do we have any? I'm sorry. Are there any Second Amendment haters in this call? Disgusting.
Yo, what up?
I am a huge. Listen, I live and die. All right. I was born with a silver clock in my mouth. I am 100%. I am a constitutionalist when it comes to the Second and First Amendment.
I have so many knives.
It is, but there is a kind of sobriety to it, though. It's the exporting of violence. America is, like overseas, a purveyor of terrorism and terror and fascist regimes. Domestically,
we have that mentality, that over there thing we've been pushing since World War II.
No, yeah, exactly. It's remarkable, and America, of course, has its problems. I mean, I talk about them all the time. It'd be idiotic to suggest otherwise. But it's interesting how well we've managed to shuffle off the invariable consequences of like neoliberal globalism and all of the violence that's needed to keep that system in order to the rest of the world.
It's almost like literally like commodity, like fetish. It's been fetishized in that way. where it's removed from, especially in the public eye. I literally got into an argument with my family today because my uncle works at Raytheon, and I talked to him about it, and I was like, he got like some award or something. And I was like, oh yeah,
Cool.
great. Yeah, I was like, oh, that's cool. But I still don't really like Raytheon. And he's just like, how dare you say I work for an unethical company or something?
Nephew, look, this is the trophy they gave me, hewn from the bones of Afghan children. What do you mean you don't like it?
I was so tempted to just go off on him, but I was like, I really let him down easy. And then I had other people where it's like, if it weren't for Raytheon, you wouldn't be able to have this free speech right now because they're defending our freedom. And I was like, is this
From what? Have we ever
guys,
actually had...
to chat, Raytheon is a military corporation. Like they're a military they're an arms provider. Thanks.
Specifically, they sell arms to Saudi Arabia. They sell guided munitions a lot, and
This
literally,
is called war profiteering.
yeah, it's literally they're war profiteers. They have made it explicit, especially in the Trump administration. They were just like, should we keep funding? Like Saudi Arabia is doing a genocide in Yemen. Should we keep funding it? And literally, Raytheon had a former lobbyist was on Trump's staff, and he was like, well, you got to think about the profits. So
they actually do have melanin-seeking bullets. It's extraordinary how well they have monetized.
Sorry, what the fuck?
Yeah,
It
they have
actually works.
melanin-seeking bullets. You just fire that shit in the air. Anyone who's anyone darker than like a cappuccino just from the air. It's like rain. It's crazy.
I mean, the younger they are, it's the better
That's
it works.
the dumbest
Too.
fucking thing I've ever heard.
It was clearly
That's
a joke.
just good. I was like, I'm sorry. It is not far out there enough. To
Yeah,
just
you
be
don't know.
ridiculous. It's
That's
like
the
one of
thing.
those-
You don't know.
It's just one of those things like, oh my god, this is a fucking stupid nightmare.
In
No-
2 years, you don't know. You have no idea what they're going to do.
Knowing the fucking
Exactly.
CIA, I did not put it past him that came up in some meeting in like some dark alley.
No, it's just like, this is really too stupid to be a thing, but we are living in enough of a nightmare for this to also be a thing.
I mean,
It's not that they don't
that's
want
the
to. They just haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah, they're just waiting on that tech. That's one of the big things with 23andMe, right? That's what everyone's worried about. We gave a private corporation almost complete understanding of the genetic ancestry of most people in the developed world, and like an understanding of how it ties to geography and the actual specific DNA samples of a bunch of people. Who knows what
And
kind
we
of wild
paid
shit.
them.
We gave
to
them
take that
$200 per kit.
But I wanted to see if I was like
But hey,
1%
someone
Native
found out that-
American.
But something good came of it because we are really in a cyberpunk era when someone hacks that shit with CRISPR.
Oh God! Don't we talk about CRISPR?
We need
CRISPR will
post-birth
Well,
CRISPR. It'd be like revolving license plates in your car, like, oh
Look,
shit, my genome's different. You can't track me anymore,
Okay, legitimate.
Well, no, at the
I would
same time,
love
you're
that
not-
Yeah,
personally.
that'd be fucking sick.
You guys aren't thinking big enough. With
That's like
CRISPR, we can
HRT.
become our personas. We can be the furries we were always meant to be with CRISPR.
But that's not gonna
How-
work. My persona's a fucking robot.
My perspective on what animal parts I would like to integrate with my body is well known,
dear.
well publicized, and need not repeating. I will.
Okay, so I'm the first-time audience surrogate here who doesn't know what you're talking about
Listen.
and therefore needs it to be repeated.
Listen, I love
the exposition scene.
horse dick, okay? I think that's some top shit, all right? I don't care, horse body, whatever. Horses are stupid. I'm just talking about the meat. And I have to say,
There's no such things as horses.
by the way, true! I have to say, by the way,
That's
The-
woke.
I'm sure we all know this in retrospect. I'm pretty sure 90% of the sales for 23andMe were white people trying to see if they could say the N-word. True or
Oh
false?
my
Tell me I'm wrong.
Oh God! Oh, did you see that clip of Lindsey Graham going on Fox and Friends talking about 23andMe?
Oh no, I didn't. What that dumb bitch say?
He said he was talking about, like, at the end of the clip, he's like, well, maybe I'm Iranian, but not one of them Ayatollah people, the good Iranians. It's a good clip. It's a
The
very good
Ayatollah
clip.
gene does not run in his blood. Whoop.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. We got so fucking distracted. All right,
It's
hit it
okay.
up. PKK
It's
Abdullah
okay.
Öcalan, not dead.
Yeah, Öcalan, not dead. He's very much alive. He wrote this article in 2011, and sort of we saw after his imprisonment, we saw like a huge shift of the PKK towards more anarchism, and so he writes this article in 2011, and then then the YPG goes on to implement it in Rojava as a good anarchist experiment. So that's kind of some of the history behind it. We can go further into how it ties into Kurdish and Turkish history. There's a lot to go. There's a lot to unpack. Like I've taken like 3 classes in the subject, and I still don't know everything. So it really goes back to so going into the article, we're talking about the nation state.
Mhm.
And he kind of begins with that and talking about what the nation state is and how it kind of operates. And from the perspective of a Turkish historian, the biggest thing to note here is that during most of the problems in the region today can we trace back to the at least between Kurdish and Turkish, as well as Armenian and other minorities. There's Greek minorities as well. After the Tanzimat reforms in 1830s, the Ottoman Empire was trying to form a national identity, because before then the Ottoman Empire was like a loose confederation of things. What they would do is they would just kind of let people do whatever, so long as they paid taxes and gave money to.
I'm raising
to the
my
government.
hand. I'm in the back of the class. I'm raising my hand right now.
Ooh, yes. Oh, you in the back, yes.
Okay, I'm reasonably sure the Ottoman Empire is fake.
Whoa.
I'm pretty
that's
sure
a-
they. I've just listen. All I know about it is what I learned from Age of Empires. Okay, can you? So this was just to clarify, this was like a largely Mediterranean, like it was around the Mediterranean Sea, and it was an empire that existed for centuries, and in some respects it was surprisingly progressive for like compared to the sort of feudal European areas, and it was
Well, yes,
broadly.
OSP does have a video on the Ottoman Empire.
Damn! If only I could read and talk. Right, and it was largely Muslim, and it was fine, and it fell like right before World War One or during World War One.
Yeah, it actually
was
fell
not
afterwards.
so
So
Ottoman.
1923, there
Damn,
was a
so
lot of
recent.
revolt. Yeah, it's surprising.
It's
but
weird to
basically,
think of how much stuff happened in that last century.
yeah.
Were they cool?
So-
Should I stan the Ottoman Empire?
There's a lot of cool things about them, but I don't know if I'd be like the Ottoman Empire was actually like really woke and like cared about workers' rights. Like literally, like what I'm writing about right now for one of the essays, my research project that I'm doing, they were just like, oh yeah, kill all these people going on strike. Yeah, kill them. Don't.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Damn,
pretty much.
I don't stand that at all. That's some cuck
Yeah.
ass shit.
Yeah,
What?
it's interesting reading about that, but not to get sidetracked. So, Tanzimat reforms, they try to make a national identity, and in doing so, making a national identity requires a lot of killing and a lot of basically being like taking away other people's identities. So like it's like doing the Native American thing where you educate them in schools. They did this with the Ottomans actually did this with Kurdish children, is educate them in sort of Turkish schools. And then after Turkey becomes independent with the Kemalist Republic era, Kemal basically rules as a dictator for a little while, and he kind of okay, so
Pipe.
Ooh.
oh god, I just had a brain aneurysm. I'm gonna die.
I feel
Oh,
like the Ottoman Empire was slightly overpowered in Age of Empires. With the Janissaries?
Yeah, true.
Well, they did actually have magic, so
That's true. That's true. That can't. They
Yeah.
were. They were They did have the magicians. They had that on
Yes.
us. I'm
By the
sorry.
way, I have no idea what I'm talking about in any context. I don't even play Age of Empires. What's a video game?
What
Listen.
even is a video game?
Yeah, listen. Just to clarify. Listen, I'm not trying to derail. Okay. Listen, I'm engaging with this content. I'm here for it. All right.
We're
No, we're good.
creating content. You might even say we're doing labor.
Content, homie. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So when Kamal comes to power, he kind of continues this Kurdish repression and he's trying to basically make the Ottoman identity the Turkish identity, and trying to say Ottoman Empire, Turkish Republic is the successor to the Ottoman Empire. And then there's a couple of like during World War II, there's like bouts of liberalism starting to go in, and then in like the 60s there was that, and then of course we get to like we talked about before, 80s, massive crackdown.
With Terry Crews.
Yes. No. So 80s, massive crackdown. 90s is when the AKP starts coming into power. And if AKP is the Justice and Development Party, that's Erdogan's party. So Erdogan he starts out very neoliberal, and then he kind of turns fascist recently, especially after the Gezi protests in 2012.
What a shock. Wait, neoliberalism and fascism overlapping to unify the interest of nation states against their people? Nah.
It turns out when you're a neoliberal and you can't control all of the people in your country, you have to crack down. And the way to do that is by fascism. It's easy. It's so easy.
Cringe. Fascism? Cringe. That's what I'm saying. That's what I have to say on the subject.
No, you're
Yes.
damn fucking right about that. Ooh.
Ooh.
So now we get to this article.
Thank you. Ooh. Yes.
I saw someone in chat asking how it relates to anarchism. So democratic confederalism as an ideology was kind of made up by Öcalan while he's in exile. He's in exile on some island. He's basically like Napoleon at this point. He's just fucking exile, and there's like 10 like Turkish ships around him. But so democratic confederalism, it is a way of governing without a state. It's basically democratizes almost everything, and then like has an overarching sense of governments just for sake of control, or not really control, but for sake of coordination. So it's kind of like going up from, you have people at the community level, and then you have people at the you have, it's kind of like a layer cake. You have people at the bottom, their community, and they make a lot of the decisions, and then they kind of go up to councils and then all kinds of stuff.
So here's something that I want to ask you, because this is something that I sometimes struggle to define myself. So I'm pretty theory averse because I hate reading, just very gay, to be honest. And that was ironic. I'm gay. I can say that. Gay.
I agree. Reading is homosexual. That's because I am homosexual, but that's okay.
Okay, yeah, there we go. As long as we're clarifying, it means it's in a good way, okay? As long as, praxis. However, so state and government mean different things. I recognize this, of course. A government, it's like governments have existed for as long as humans have existed. Tribal societies, even a family is a form of a government, if you want to be like very, very minute in its practice. But a state, tends to correlate to like a very specific modernist post-17th century way of thinking about how you unify the interests of people together, make them really feel like they're part of the land that they're collectively sharing. How would you describe the difference between a state and a government?
So the state,
the state is what, the government is how.
The state really, I kind of say that's kind of true. The biggest thing is that the state, you have a defined territory with the state. There's rigid borders, and it's all about, especially with nation states, it's about having a certain identity that gives the state a what's the word here? Not for some reason I was saying it gives it a syndicalist. No, sovereignty over the people in that region.
Is that a Pokemon?
No, it's Big Hat Man, like a sultan from the Ottoman Empire.
No, I mean syndicalist. What the hell's that?
Oh, wait,
anarcho-syndicalism. It's
never mind.
Syndicalism is a bunch of unions. It's a lot of unions.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said syndiquist, like with a QU. I was like, what, like Cyndaquil?
So yeah,
pop culture reference.
So government really is like, government basically forms whenever you have a group of people around. Like imagine like your friend group, and you're talking about going out to lunch. In a sense, there's aspect of government there, but in a very real sense, also what the state is defined territory, you have recognized by other states is a huge one. It has to be recognized by other things, like because you can't have a state that isn't legitimized by something. And then also,
Usually legitimized by force, though.
yeah, there's a monopoly on force as well is the biggest thing, and yeah, the biggest thing is that it's defined territory.
So
thing
defined borders, defined land, consolidated into some form of central authority. Not entirely. It doesn't have to be a fully central authority, but there has to be some way, some bureaucracy by which it is determined that one has jurisprudence over another, and finally a monopolization of violence within those borders.
Yes, I would say that. That's a good definition. And then
Okay.
government is just how the people decide to do things. That's pretty much how it works. So democratic and federalism, what we're trying to do here and how it relates to anarchism is that it is an anarchist ideology. It is for the abolishment of the state.
Mhm.
And because it makes sense, like going over Kurdish history as we've discussed before, the state has not been nice to the Kurds. The Kurds have been without a sort of state for a while now. And what this article is trying to do is fix the problem of when you have anarchist communes, the state inevitably tries to take over. And so the way to do that
necessarily need to have something it can recognize as a state all of your own. Otherwise, someone's just going to come in to basically your house and say, "This is mine now."
well, yeah, pretty much like
Like
if
what we
if
did
you
to
get
the
all the
neighbors.
resources.
This
Oh,
is
God.
this is what's happening right now to Rojava, of course, and it's one of the reasons why. See, I didn't realize this until recently, and I apologize for my ignorance. I describe myself as an anarcho-syndicalist. It's been pointed out to me that anarchists don't believe in any kind of transitory state, so I probably fall more broadly under the purview of libertarian socialist. But whatever the case may be, this is something I really worry about for revolutions, you know? It doesn't seem like there's any way to avoid getting immediately dogpiled by your neighbors through a revolution unless you're willing to bid at the power of a state to accept the legitimacy granted upon statehood. It seems it's very saddening. I mean, we see what's happening right now in Rojava. It feels as though it feels as though just that the ideal form of government is one which is not at this point capable of rejecting unideal forms of government.
Well, this is why I'd say, like, in order for anarchism to truly work, it needs to be global. You can't just have it be a localized thing, because what's going to end up happening is
They'll get
states will
dogpiled by the
inevitably.
state around it.
Yeah.
And
That's
one
why.
possible solution is to become militarily powerful enough to fend off these people, at least for a little while, long enough to get them to, fucking give up.
But I mean, the issue is that states have the most powerful militaries in all of history. Like compared to like really earlier times and like kingdoms, medieval kingdoms like that, states' military power is huge.
Yeah,
We have never
completely
seen
unrivaled
anything
in
like
the
it.
world.
Yeah, completely unrivaled. It's very hard to. You can try to do an insurgency, and if we look to South America and sort of what they were trying to do with a lot of. There was actually anarchism in South America is very, very interesting. It kind of goes into just of course, going into counterinsurgency, how the state fights an ideology. Basically, how does the state fight something that it finds distasteful? And you can see that a lot in South American anarchism, specifically like in Guatemala and in El Salvador, of course, with the Sandinistas. You can kind of see the issues where the state's not looking to win in these sort of things. Counterinsurgency is not about quote unquote winning the battle. It's about punishing them so much that they stop. It's about holding on for the longest time.
Yeah,
It's
well,
not-
I mean, we have legal strategies around that where the goal isn't to win the lawsuit or, to be found guilty or innocent, what have you, but to wear the other person down and,
Trial by ordeal.
Mhm.
yeah.
That's one of the things I wonder, like from a strategic perspective. Let's say you're the Kurds, okay? Let's say, all right, let me imagine. Okay, I'm going to put myself in the Kurdish headspace, okay? I speak a different language and I like mountains. All right, I've done it. I'm there, okay? I'm in the zone. The fuck do I do? Because any bid at seizing like independent statehood is going to get squashed. Any bid at seizing independent democratic confederalism is going to get squashed. And right now, I'm not saying they're consigned to death right now, but obviously there are difficulties associated with that. What do you do if you can't bid for statehood and you can't rely on the allyship of other states, as Trump evidenced with pulling troops out of Syria? Do you think there's a way to
I'm sorry, we only call him the Tangerine.
I got you. My apologies. I'll
Orange
use
Man.
proper
Bad.
language. Orange Man. Bad?
Bad.
Correct.
Bad.
Bad.
I just wonder if there's any way to consolidate military and civic strength without committing to the kind of actions that get you dogpiled by your neighbors, you know?
And that's a great question to ask. Ocalan goes into it in this episode. He kind of talks about, I'm not thoroughly convinced by it that democratic confederalism is good enough to stop a military force like the state, but Ocalan makes that argument deeply within it, and he kind of talks about how democratically you can create a military, like it's like the YPG, the People's Self-Defense Force. That's what it literally translates to, I believe. But so
Yeah, pay attention.
So right, what Rojava is trying to do, of course, is trying to prove the Rojava is the big experiment. If they end up succeeding in this, democratic confederalism is confirmed, and it turns out you don't need a state to fight a state in a war.
Right.
If they lose, then it's back to the drawing board. So that's the biggest thing we're waiting for right now, because the jury's out.
Anything either, because like state versus state wars can sometimes well, okay, non-states can lose wars just like states can.
It's worth noting that Turkey has like what, the 5th largest military in the planet. They spend an insane amount of money on their military. It's actually, I had no idea. When somebody told me like Turkey has a large military and I looked it up, I was expecting them to be in like the top 20. Their military is enormous. I couldn't imagine a worse neighbor to have while practicing some kind of anarchist non-state, you know? It's horrifying how large their military is.
The good thing about their military is that they're also very incompetent. If you ever look at one of the biggest examples during Operation Euphrates Shield very recently, Turkey ordered a bunch of Leopard 2s from Germany, and then proceeded to lose like 5 in a day or something like that, and just absolutely get murked by RPGs. So they have a big military, but that's about all they have. Their organization is very, very flawed. That's not to say that they're still not a threat to the YPG and everything like that. No fucking doubt. The biggest issue is that when the YPG lost its air support, then Turkey's going to be able to try to fuck them. But it's still hazy. That Turkey is not as big a military they are. They have huge problems with organization and just in general. If you read about any of the fighting on just the Syrian front right there, you'll see this almost immediately.
Well, not to mention the failed coup back in 2013, right? There has to still be bad blood over that. If I remember how it went down properly, didn't the military try to go in to like question Erdogan's power and it like didn't catch? But a lot of those military officials are probably still in place. That doesn't seem like a very internally stable system.
There is that, but the thing is also with the coup, there is evidence to suggest it was staged. There is evidence to suggest that Erdogan staged it himself. For instance, when
that's also cringe.
Staging a coup, yeah. I mean, have you ever seen the video of Erdogan FaceTiming the people?
Wait, no.
Wait.
Yes. Oh God, let me look it up.
What?
So to clarify, it's not Erdogan, it's Erdogan. Have I been fucking that up?
You pronounce G's like Y's if I recall correctly.
Gotcha. To clarify, does this make me racist? Yeah. Yes or no?
No.
Are you white?
It doesn't mean. It just means you're bad at pronouncing things.
Are you white?
It means you've missed your daily.
I'm white. I'm white.
Are you white?
No.
Oh, okay. No, wait. Wait. She said that I'm good. Okay, we're good. Just making sure.
Wait, what?
You said I'm not racist.
Yeah, no.
Nice. Cool. Validation. I've never done anything racist in my life. Wait, hold on. I'm really curious about this FaceTime. Hold on.
Oh, it's good. It's good.
This
I
is-
have it right here.
Honestly, this is the weirdest
I will
direction this
link it in
podcast has
the-
ever gone in.
Yeah, wait.
Sayın
Oh,
Cumhurbaşkanı
hold on. I
hazırsanız
tried to.
hazırız.
What chat do you want me to link it in? Yeah, there it is. There it is.
Yeah, I've got it. I mean,
Başkanım,
obviously we
dinliyoruz
can't
biz sizi.
speak, but I want to see
İyi akşamlar efendim. Buyurun.
what the aesthetic is.
İyi akşamlar. Tabii bugünkü bu gelişme gerçekten
It's such a boomer moment. It's
This
like the
is
most
so
gamer
weird.
ne yazık ki
Why are they doing it like that?
hareketidir.
Because they don't know how to work with technology.
Look at her.
Everyone
Look at her
knows
phone.
that.
Her phone's nearly dead. Look at it. It's at like 2%. You can see the bar up there.
I didn't even see that. Oh my god, that's so good.
This entire thing could have died.
This could have gone this could have actually gone worse.
Imagine being a fascist and staging a coup and reaching out to your people using a FaceTime that you call a journalist who presents it on the media, and then that Fatheme dies because she didn't
battery
charge her phone.
Turkish state media, by the way. I believe this is
Yeah.
Turkish state media here.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening was one of the biggest like red flags about this was so the military bombed the parliament building,
Mhm.
but weirdly no one was in the parliament building. So nothing happened. Like no high-ranking officials were killed. Like Erdogan wasn't there, or anything like that. So it leads us to believe that something was going on. And of course, Erdogan. The stated excuse is also fucking hilarious because Erdogan just blamed it on the Gulenists, and Gulen is this guy who was friends with Erdogan for a while,
Mhm.
and then they kind of had a falling out. Fake friends and all, and Gulen lives in Pennsylvania now and is trying to start like a bunch of Muslim fundamentalist schools. So Gulen is in no position to do that. He was literally just Erdogan was just literally trying to take a pot shot at someone he didn't like. So there's that. All right.
Oh, is Turkey Sunni or Shiite?
They're Sunni.
Okay, gotcha. So that means they have tensions with Iran, correct?
Yeah, they don't really talk a whole lot about. So Erdogan with the rise of the AKP has been trying to. He's done a lot more with Iran. Turkey, for the most part, remained after the Kemalist Republic, remained quote unquote secular. It's secular in this, even like in the sense of like the United States, where it's like they're secular, we are secular, but religious fundamentalists have a huge stranglehold on our. It's kind of the same thing in Turkey, where they were quote unquote secular, but there was a lot of Sunni domination of the government.
You mean like the
especially in
United
regards-
States, where fundamentalist Christian voters like have a massive fucking weight on what our policy is, even though we're
Yes.
ostensibly
It's one of the major it's because they're trying to tie it to their identity. Okolana goes into about how nationalism basically replaced religion as a way to form a state, and he kind of discusses that a little bit.
And it's weird.
Yeah. Religion has become a tool of the state. That's how it works. That's how it be. But so he discusses kind of how the nation state went from going from feudalism, where you had a monarch where it was like, oh yes, I'm in power because God willed it. Now it's because of, well, this person represents the nation and represents, someone in chat just said Judeo-Christian values. It's exactly right. Great night. Spot on. But that's kind of how it is. And so with the founding of the Republic, they were quote unquote secular for the longest time, but they of course, did a lot of things. They changed the whole language after the Republic. They like the language that you see now with all those weird letters and stuff like that. It used to be written like in Arabic script.
Mm-hmm.
And then they literally just changed it and said, "All right, make sure everyone learns this, okay?"
Wait, did they make a Turkey specific set of characters?
Kind of.
That's
They
really weird.
No, yeah. So like, one of the things is they used phonetic characters, and they look like much more like a Western language. But old Ottoman looks more Arabic, and then like just Turkish looks like like a lot of like Eastern European languages now, which is bizarre. But that's just, again, that's literally, they're trying to make a national identity. Of course, one of the biggest things that did also is people who are illiterate. They did a huge program to go out, especially in the countryside, to try and get these people literate. Mostly because they wanted to teach them the new language and everything like that, and also bring them into the fold of the nation in a way that they hadn't been before.
Mhm.
So there was always an underlying effort of, Turkishness and propaganda built into the school system. So that was a huge thing.
I
Gotcha.
mean, not unlike what we've had here in the U.S.
Yeah, it's literally they took it from the U.S. Educating Native Americans. That's where they took it from, like those prairie schools and stuff like that.
lo-
Oh,
I
I mean, like
I feel like a
recently in
lot
the
of
U.S.
a lot of people have learned from us. A lot of Hitler's genocidal policies were kind of born out from the scientific racism that stemmed from a lot of American eugenicists, and I feel,
Oh, yeah.
and of course, yeah,
well,
we have
even those eugenicists were somewhat derivative.
from earlier like American influence.
Well, no, actually, somewhat, yeah.
Also,
I
from
guess.
French?
British influence, really. The pseudosciences like that have existed long before America was discovered, and there's a big air quotes in there.
Well, yeah, but like the thing is like the modern sense of the term. There's been a lot of things that have been racisms and things that have been pioneered here in America and taken by other countries for use, just because we become the global hegemon.
Damn, I
That's
can't believe Cardin over here defending American hegemony. Damn.
Wow.
You
Damn.
hate to see it happen.
Cardin, you're canceled. You're canceled. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying that American, fuck. They didn't invent
I agree,
it. They
American,
were totally
fuck.
derivative.
America invented racism. You're canceled, sweetie.
It's Donald Trump,
America's
CEO
not
of
that
racism.
original. You give him way too much credit.
But yeah, that's just kind of how it is. Just because the U.S. has become such a huge force in the world, that's why you see them adopting a lot of our like eugenics policies and doing things like that. Because Turkey's a huge ally of the U.S. during the Cold War. They're the reason for the Cuban Missile Crisis. We put nukes in Turkey, and then they, of course, the Soviet Union got angry, so they put nukes in Cuba, and that's what started the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Right.
So they were a huge asset. That's why they're in NATO. They're a huge asset during the Cold War because they would play ball with America, unlike other people in the region, like Syria, Egypt, especially. Like the Suez Crisis, America was really pissed off about the Suez Crisis. They were trying to do a coup in Syria, and that failed. And then, of course, they did a coup in Iran so that Iran would play ball and took out Mossadegh in '53.
Right.
So basically, a lot of this boils down to post-Cold War end of the Cold War politics meshing with nation states. And let me see if I can find here. One of the biggest things that he also talks about here in democratic confederalism, he talks also, it's fairly progressive. He talks about sexism. He talks about all kinds of things because of the nature of the Middle East in general, because there's a lot of conservative theocracies in the Middle East. And there's a lot of also dictatorships and stuff like that. But it's one of the things where he's talking about why you see even like one of the biggest problems here, even in the West, there's almost like a fetishization of like Kurdish YPG women fighters. It's like, oh yeah, it's so progressive. They're women fighting, but it's full like the undertext of that is like mostly U.S. imperialism, because it's like, oh yeah, we got to support them, and then we got to free them. We got to give them freedom.
I mean, honestly, Rojava probably knew like the risks that they were accepting when they started to work with the U.S. in that area, right? Not that they had a huge choice because they needed the arms and support and everything. And I'm glad they took that option. Things might have worked out a lot better for them if it weren't for Donald Drumpf's withdrawing of troops. But I feel like that PR can be good though, right? I mean, even now there are Republicans who are angry of us pulling out and abandoning the
optics.
Kurds.
Fuck optics and respectability politics.
Well, it's not respectability politics. It's getting people from the world's most powerful imperialist nation to think that you're not worth bombing to death. I think that's. I mean, it's something.
It's
Especially,
a political move.
Well,
It's just they're playing the game of politics, and that's how they.
and that's
It's
and
a dirty fucking game.
it's marketable too, because you have all those pictures, all the cute like fucking Kurd girls, lined up in their military outfits. I saw so many pictures of that back a few months ago before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a little bit. It's just something to think about because
They're probably dead now.
Okay.
Hey, I have a little bit more faith. They're probably languishing in some Turkish prison, being tortured a lot. Okay.
There we go.
They're
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for the optimism.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm not sure which one of those is more optimistic. To be perfectly honest, damn.
Listen, I hope they're doing well. That's what.
Yeah.
In a Turkish prison.
In a Turkish prison.
In the end, basically,
really dark.
What democratic confederalism is and what he argues in the paper is essentially a system wherein it's multicultural, multi-ethnic. Like he goes into later in the piece talking about all the different kind of minorities in the region. Like he even talks about like how a lot of Israel's problems would be solved with confederalism. And I think there's a little bit of stuff I disagree with that, because one of the biggest things is that in Israel there's a lot. It's an ethno state, and it's more about, people always talk about the Jews and whatnot, but there's a hierarchy.
Oh no.
People who are there's a hierarchy of power, because there's Ashkenazi, the first Zionists, and they were trying to colonize that area for oh god.
No, just listen. It's just hey, Israel's an ethno state. It's time to talk about the Jews. Now, let's name the types. There are Ashkenazi. Here's their skull shape.
Oh no.
I'm sorry, listen, I argue with so many fucking Nazis. That's all.
I saw that earlier. I saw that shit earlier today. The brain worms have infected you
really
now.
spicy.
Listen, that was a really fun discussion. Okay, I had a lot of fun with that one.
Oh god,
What?
Every listen, I have like one of those tickets that you get from ice cream parlors where you get the sticker every time you go, and on the 10th visit you get a free ice cream, and for me it's the N-word pass. If I can argue with 10 actually like 20 IQ brain dead conservative grifter black guys, then during the 10th one I get to drop the N-bomb. I'm waiting.
Yeah, but it's like PG-13,
Yeah. You've just got the one, right? Exactly. I've got 3 going so far.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Ooh.
Okay. Ooh. Of course. We'll talk of here. We'll get, for all of you who have been anxiously waiting in chat, talking about when are they going to get to furries. We'll get to anarchism and furries here in a minute. I swear. I swear I will stop gushing about Ocalan and Turkish history for 1 second to talk about furry history. But so yeah. Just trying to look at my notes. So one of the things, like, he talks about having the Israelis kind of be brought into the fold in a democratic confederalist way, but I think he's a little bit naive in this regard, because one of the biggest issues is, like, he talks about how he kind of falls into the trap of, well, Israel's the only democracy in the Middle East, and it's like, excuse me, they're not really a democracy in that sense, because there is a class hierarchy. Ashkenazi Jews are seen as much better. Anyone who's not Ashkenazi or like white passing is seen as inferior. You can see this especially with Yemeni Jews. There was a lot of Jews in Yemen that tried to emigrate to Israel, and of course, because they were brown, the Ashkenazi Jews did not like them, and they were oppressed, and they still are.
I feel when even the Jews want a white ethno state feels bad.
Literally, like they just want a white ethno state. It's not even talking about Jewishness. One of the biggest things is that they're letting people into Israel now that are just white, because they have this insane idea that they need to outbreed the Arabs or whatnot, and all this other shit, because they need to maintain their power. that's like the craziness of fucking Netanyahu, that creep.
If anything, it's
And-
actually rather unifying because it it confirms the universality of thought. You know, anyone can be
Can be a
basic.
thought.
Yeah, anyone can be a white nationalist or be basically a neo-Nazi. It doesn't matter if you're Jewish. It doesn't matter if you built a Jewish homeland in response to the Holocaust. It doesn't matter. Listen, we are unified in our collective ability to develop Nazi brainworms. It is
That is
phenomenal.
horrifying.
just multi-ethnic ethno-state.
Exactly.
That's all I have to
That's
say.
what I'm talking about. I want a multi-ethnic ethno state. Get the aliens out of here. The real
That-
aliens.
Just
Mexicans.
the literal. Oh, I thought you meant literal aliens. And I was like, hell yeah. Independence Day, bitch.
Welcome to Earth.
But yeah, he kind of goes into talking about all these different nationalities. One of the things he goes into is the failure of Pan-Arabism. And if you guys don't know how Pan-Arabism was, it was a nationalist movement that was kind of like the third way. Nasser was kind of the leader of it. He was the Egyptian prime minister for a long time, and he tried to have a pan-Arab union with Syria, but it turns out Syria didn't like the fact that Nasser was just like not letting any of their representatives have any say, so it was just like Nasser's dictatorship. So Syria left that union. So that was sort of an idea of because there's many different tribal groups within the Arabic peoples. So Pan-Arabism was one of the biggest attempts in the 50s to try to, it's kind of like Pan-Africanism in that sense, to try to use a nationalist force to unify a large region.
Historically, hasn't Pan-Africanism plotted out a little bit better?
Pan-Africanism is a little bit better. You can have some, generally speaking, it's gone a little bit better. I'm not too familiar with the historical accounts of Pan-Africanism.
I only
so
know
I
about
can't-
Thomas, Sankar's efforts and what that was related to and how that went.
We're planning on reading one of his books for the podcast, so there we go. But
Reading.
imagine reading. Hey,
Well,
the whole
listening
point of this
to it.
podcast is we read so you don't have to.
Can we do that? Fuck 'em.
Wait, we're reading
Yeah.
a book right now? Fuck.
Yeah, right now we got to read all the books right now.
I'm
Wait,
drawing furry porn,
we
so-
get, this is important to me. When we get to the furry segment, listen, I got some hard questions for us to talk about, okay?
Oh, I'm
how
already
hard do you think your
Josh.
questions are?
They will slowly increase in severity until I feel like social signals are telling me to lay off.
Good luck with that,
Okay.
because part of being a furry is being unable to interpret social signals.
Hey.
What the fuck was that?
I tried to do gunshot noises. It didn't work.
You
I
don't
tried.
fire the finger guns. Are you insane?
I never said I wasn't insane. We Clown World, anyone?
Everyone's got a little joker in them. All
Oh,
it
no.
takes is a little push.
You want to hear
Or
a
to
joke,
dance on the
Josh?
right steps.
I'm sorry. Okay, wait. I'm sorry. I'm
Who was
back.
that?
Hello.
It was his laugh. We're having a good time. We're having a good time. We're going way off topic. This is what makes a podcast good. You never listen to the Chapo episodes where everything's boring. It's always when they go off topic when it gets good.
Do
And I
you,
want to talk about
do you want to
Pan-Arab
know?
furries.
Do you want to know how this 11-inch bad dragon dildo got in my ass? My father
Bad dragon.
was a madman.
Oh god.
Okay.
Oh god.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I have a question. Hands raised. Why do you know the dimensions?
Well, wait. You don't methodically count the inches as like a high score table?
Okay, here's the thing: is you wait. You can feel the inches from the side. How?
I have a little permanent marker like ticks, like a ruler in the inside of my lower intestine.
Nice.
Okay. How? What?
Karn, he's
That
being
mechanically doesn't work.
No, it
He's
absolutely
being-
does. Listen, it's very wait, hold on. This is very simple, okay? I care a lot about this. I'm very deeply passionate about this, okay? We're debuting this topic right now, okay? All you have to do, okay, is you have to use a compass, the kind that you use in school to draw circles. You've got like the sharp point that you in the paper, and then you program. Okay, all you have to do, okay, is you have to mark off inches on the length of it, and then you insert it into your rectum and prick the inside of your body every inch. So then, when you're
Oh, so
using
you
a
can feel it go
dildo,
across the scar.
yeah, and then when you use a dildo, you think like, okay, 1 prick of pain, 2 prick of pain, 5 pricks of pain, and each one denotes an inch because you're agitating the previous injury. It's a very effective way.
There we go.
I hate this.
Hold on. I'm gonna be right back. I need to use the restroom, but we've had a good talk. This is going longer than our usual podcasts go. We usually like to keep it around an hour, but
Oh God!
I still got a lot of
I-
Democratic Confederalism to do.
I like these more free-form discussions anyways. So plus
makes
it
one of
helps
us.
with the fact that like I'm not gonna be editing all this, and I don't have to take out how many times Cardin hits a bong. I have
I
literally.
haven't done it yet.
You have not. I have literally been able to, in Audacity, identify when she hits a bong by like the look of the sound waves.
It's like the
no,
Matrix.
it's
You don't
getting good.
you just see everyone else just sees green numbers. You just see blonde, brunette, redhead, bong hit. You know.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah. Wait. When you get back, I got the hard ass. Okay, we have to talk about my questions on furry democratic and federalism. Okay, this is very important.
Yeah.
Okay. Zulu
Yeah, I bet he's
Kathy.
gonna miss that one.
Yeah, it's fucking rush on over. Let them blast the piss out. Get it over with as quickly as possible. Zulu Kathy, you feeling all right?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about. How do you feel about democratic confederalism?
It looks pretty neat.
That's what I'm talking about.
I've
Fuck
had
yeah.
to-
Sexy.
The wording in the whole document is a bit different than what I'm used to, like vocabulary wise. So I've had to do a bit of thinking over it. I kind of wish I'd read this, like a month ago before talking about it instead of a day, because it needs time to mull over.
Yeah, sorry. I think my presence here kind of shot any possibility of there being a serious discussion of the contents of the article. So I apologize for that.
That's actually really relieving because I was like all serious and shit, and it was like, oh shit, we're getting involved with another podcaster, and we're reading this new essay. What the hell's going? We're doing so much stuff, and it's just like,
Yeah, we're doing it up. Listen,
it was intense.
I love the audience work too. I have way more fun chatting it up when there's folks watching. Excuse me, sorry.
This creature has requested gentle hand pats. For how long? Until one of us perishes.
Yeah, without a time length specified, that is an extremely ambiguous request.
A life well spent. It's basically when your pet, wants you to pet them.
You don't know. What if they want to be pet until you die? What if they want your hand to cramp and your wrist to splint as you pet them?
Oh, I need an opener for that.
Yes.
If I recall correctly, Vosh is not a furry. Okay, guys, listen. I'm not a furry. I don't even know what the fuck it means to be a furry, okay? I've had people who say they're furries, and all they do is, like, they jerk off to furry porn, and I've seen people who go in fursuits and go to cons and actually have a fursona that they draw online as a representation of their own person. So there's such a broad spectrum.
You could literally just have any one thing that qualifies you as a furry.
I mean, literally the
you
only
can claim
thing
it.
is like to be a furry is you just say you're a furry and you're pretty much a furry.
Cool.
That's
I mean,
about.
that's how identity works. Listen, here's my hot fucking take. Okay, we've all seen Zootopia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Have you, really quickly, have you seen Beastars? It's an anime running this season. It's really good so far.
I don't know. I have
not.
not seen Beastars, but I have seen Agrasuko, which is actually
Ah,
also
gotcha.
very woke. But anyways,
Yeah, because
Agratsuko is Proletariat the anime.
I mean, if you don't come out of that a socialist, I don't know what you were watching.
literally Todano talks about fucking modern capitalism. What a hero! I love Todano.
I cannot overstate how much you guys should check out
Actually need to
Beastars.
watch that show.
Okay. Duly noted. I wrote it down in my brain.
Yeah, it's really good. It's CG animated. It's all anthropomorphic furry stuff. You know, mouse tiny, lion big. But it's really good and gripping. Whatever the
Ooh,
case.
macro stuff, fun.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. This is one of those like little people get used as like a sleeve kind of situations. You know how it be. Whatever the case may be.
I don't know why you know how it be. That's kind of disturbing.
Whoa! Actual kink shaming live on air to an audience.
Pardon,
Canceled
you're getting a flogging.
again.
Oh no.
In a furry society, listen, in a Zootopian society, like furries, anthropomorphized, walking around, different side, whatever, how would you be able to ensure commonality and peace amongst the carnivorous and herbivorous masses without the authority of a state to impose strict discipline and threat of violence upon people who prey on one another? How could you possibly reconcile the values of anarchism with the fact that different species are actually genuinely different from one another in a way that would make race realists like lose their shit?
That's true.
Easy.
I mean, like one of the things with
sorry.
oh yeah, no problem. One of the things with like Judy, like for instance, that whole movie is all about trying to break down like stereotypes, really, because Judy's, you know, she's small and she is a rabbit hanging out with a lot of predators, and she proves herself because she's just she proves herself as a cop. I mean, let's be real, Judy is a class traitor, but we won't go into that. But in a sense, one of the things is that even though there's physical differences, the social implications are still constructed.
Mhm.
That's the thing. It's still that all these things that they think they know true and that are true to a certain extent do not define them. In this sense, you must be transhumanist. You got to transcend the idea of you know, dividing people by their differences, because that's what capitalism seeks to do. Just completely divide everyone so you can market to them. That's what they want to do. They need just everyone into neat little boxes.
I
But
want to interject real
reality-
quick. The fourth of us, Gecko, is in the stream call-ins.
Oh,
Hey,
bring
oh,
them in
hey,
immediately.
Gecko.
Can you bring him in?
Sick.
They're Phi Long United Anarchists, something.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Moving them over. I don't know, dude. The skull shapes are actually different for animals. Like, there's an actual hello, Phi Long or Gecko. How you doing?
Oh, hey.
Well, yeah, and you know, just some species, you know, learn better than others.
Yeah, Gecko, we got a echo on your recording, so you might want to.
I think I fixed it because I have the live recording open. I think I fixed it.
All right, we're talking about Zootopia right now, and how it confirms race realism, I guess.
Well, the only thing I mean to say is like, okay, like, so obviously, like personally, I'm committed to equality as a principle, even if it was,
I know,
even if
we're
like
doing
human,
hypotheticals.
yeah, even if
Yeah.
human beings were all completely different from one another, even if there was like this glorious race realist, like, oh, actually the fairer complexions first better in the creative departments or whatever shit like that, I would still advocate people should be treated the same. Fuck that. We're all human beings, okay? And I would say the same in an animal world. But I have to say, man, like, we have extrapolated so much indiscriminate hatred against certain like genders and races because of very, very, very minor, completely like phenotypical physiological differences. The difference between how like doe and mice would be treated like in a furry world, oh my god, like I feel like it wouldn't be like the Zootopia we're all getting along kind of thing. I'm thinking like brutal ghettos and slums and slave-driven labor.
That's almost like how
D&D, but in terms of the lore, there is a lot of societal stratification by species, and I mean this is D&D, so the the morphological differences aren't even all that pronounced compared to something like in Zootopia, but there would absolutely fucking be a caste system.
But even in the movie, they even specifically point out how a lot of these animals are ghettoized. I mean, look at when she was chasing the villain through the small mice village. Like you could see that they're literally sectioned off in their own areas, and you even have like the actual biomes. Yeah, no, the actual biomes are entirely segregated from each other.
Well, that does make a lot of sense though, and
I mean,
But that's still,
It's
but that's
a
still
marvel in
ghettoization.
engineering.
It
Yeah.
also means mice would be limited to intellectual labor, and the larger animals would be the ones doing physical labor, because nobody wants a mouse construction worker. I feel like there'd be a lot of really weird stratification that'd be like super uncomfortable when you get past the
There would be
superficialities.
horizontal
Vosh, what you're talking
stratification.
about is like the society from I don't know if you Mouse, like that graphic novel, Mouse, Maus.
Oh yeah, the comic that basically was like, oh hey, I'm gonna make, a World War II story with all of the Jews being mice and all of the Nazis being other
I think
animal
I've heard
races,
of it.
species.
Oh my god, I didn't
Yeah.
even realize there's no interbreeding. A lion and a deer can't produce children. If you're
Okay, so
if you
as
want
a
to be able to
furry,
produce
I gotta
children, you
call
literally have to
bullshit on
stick to
that.
your own race.
Well,
Oh,
this is where the anthropomorphism comes in. The thing is, you have to realize they're humans,
Also,
so therefore most of their things are just aesthetic.
Okay,
Aesthetics.
all right, I can accept that. True.
wait, hold up. Wait, what was the question? Oh, wait, was that about Zootopia or about furries as a whole?
I'm imagining like Zootopia type anthropomorphized society where, people are walking on 2 feet, but there's still pretty strong physiological differences between the species.
But they still have
That
they don't
won't
have
stop
interbreeding.
anyone.
They don't have interbreeding, but they do have interspecial sexual relations, because it's heavily implied that Judy and Fudge, I always forget
Nick?
the
Yeah,
Nick.
yeah.
They go on and do sexual things afterwards. It's heavily implied.
Oh yeah, I've seen the
Judy's
comics
funny on
too,
the
and
box
Judy's a
together.
slut. I mean, it's not just Nick either. Judy's fucking the entire department. I've seen the comics, bro. It's happening.
But no,
Oh,
it's heavily
God.
implied that they are having sexual relations, interspecial, but they can't breed. You're right. I mean, unless there's some kind of weird genetic, science going on that they're
In that comic,
basically using
too.
CRISPR to make weird amalgamations of these species.
I like how you mentioned
Making
CRISPR. We
coccyx
talked
and
about that
fabbits.
earlier. Yeah. But,
Itty bitty
like I
baby,
said,
itty
like,
bitty boat.
the thing is like from a pragmatic sense, the reason why they can all fuck is because they're all partially human.
I mean,
that's the reason.
I don't believe it.
but and I'm just thinking about this. Where are all the marine animals?
True.
In the water.
But
Well,
you don't
also,
even
what
see
about
representation.
insects? What about bacteria? Bacteria personas.
Okay,
Okay.
listen.
Oh,
Okay,
that-
okay,
that
we're
would be
going.
great.
All right, Mr. Radical Thinker. Okay, back in the bin.
How dare you? Well, no.
There are monocellular personas.
Yeah,
Well-
my persona is an amoeba. I actually devour the dead skin off of the cheetahs of the world. So please
Hello.
respect me.
I'm an
I mean-
anthropomorphic tardigrade.
Oh God. Well, that's the thing. It actually kind of gets down into why we can be kind of tribalist, because humans like to interact with things that are similar. For instance, the reason why people are so grossed out by insects is because they have more than just one pair of eyes. Sometimes they'll have 6, or they'll be like so weird and like have 6 legs. It'd be so crazy to be like, whoa, that thing is so weird. But
Okay,
with
at
like
the same time,
mammals, with
humans
mammals,
will attack bombs
like
with anything, including these spiders and a fucking Roomba.
I mean, I think in Zootopia there only are mammals. Are there
yeah,
any
there's
other?
only mammals.
Can we all
Yeah.
just agree that people who fetishize I'm sorry if I'm yucking here, but people who fetishize insects, that's disgusting. I hate it when I'm looking through the furry porn archives. Okay, I hate it when I'm browsing through and I see okay, dogs, way cool, and lions,
So
all right,
I'm
cool,
gonna have to disagree with you.
That's-
on
having fun, and then I see like a gigantic like caterpillar or like cricket, and I'm like, what?
Exactly.
Are
It's
we-
because
Okay,
No,
so
but
I'm
wait,
gonna have to
because we
disagree
can't
with you on
associate.
that one
But wait,
because that's
imagine the kinky shit you can do with a spider's web hole.
True. I mean, it's basically an extra pussy.
If you're in
I
the
mean,
bondage
That
of
is
play
the
and you're a
most
spider, oh
cursed
man.
thing you've ever said.
fucking
I think the worst part about this is my parents will eventually listen to this. Uh-oh.
Well, the funny part is spiders are probably the most fetishized insects. Spider girls, like when they have the
Whoa.
big abdomen, but then like the human torso and the big boobies and stuff. This is a fairly common like furry-esque trope there.
That's a bit of an anime thing.
But also,
True, yeah.
Vosh, spiders are not insects; they're arachnids.
True.
Vosh,
Yeah,
this
they're
is
not
arachnid erasure. How dare you?
True.
True.
According to a poll, 1/3 of the people in my chat are bug fuckers.
Hey, solidarity with the bug fuckers, you know, as long as it's consensual, okay?
I don't know.
Bingo. Yeah, Harkness test, right? Actually, that's the most important thing about the furry fandom. You're gonna need to know is the Harkness test.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like,
please.
the furry fandom does bring up, like, there are issues of, like, consent where it's like, oh man, I'm gonna go fuck my dog can consent, but it goes down, like, even further than that, because what ends up happening is people don't really fully realize, like, what consent is, because, like, with a dog, right, the dog is basically like a 5-year-old child, in a sense, and 5-year-olds, we all agree, cannot consent.
I'm glad we all came here ready to discuss the ethics of bestiality. Everyone get out your philosophy textbooks. We're in my realm now. Okay, I hope everyone's got 3 free hours.
Vosh, I'm a giant nerd. How dare you? I think
this is one of those conversations that is generally worth having in the furry community, because like shit's been getting really weird. Like if you've ever looked at any Furries Beware shit or like spicy furry takes,
there's a zoophile podcast. Like there's a bestiality podcast where they talk about how they're discriminated against. And I'm like,
I mean, to be fair, they are. The question is it justified? Reason. Yeah, it's like all right.
But can we actually be real for a second and say that the only part of the furry fandom that is justifiably discriminated against are Therians?
Therians.
What?
Oh God.
Wait. Therians?
Yeah.
I forgot what those are.
Otherkin.
Yeah, Otherkin.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Major group. Oh, Otherkin. Oh, okay. Listen, true. Otherkin rights, I guess. Hey,
I don't mind them.
Listen.
Someone said earlier in the chat intersex rights. I'm gonna say intersex rights.
True.
Intersex rights.
Here's my hot take. Okay, recorded for publicly. Probably not a good idea to fuck animals.
Yeah, probably not.
The closest we can get, listen, everyone can agree on this, okay? The closest we can get to fucking animals in an ethical sense is when horse girls, you know what I'm talking about, the crazy types, the rich ones, the jockey types, ride and they just grind their crotch against the saddle, and every time it bucks, it's like the waves of pleasure course through their body. That's where we begin and end. Past that, we're getting pretty dicey.
Okay, so that beginning point was already very confusing. What?
Horse girl. You know that one.
The girls who ride horses.
Yeah. You know the girls that like horses and
Wait,
they really.
Have you never met a horse girl?
Probably not.
It's like an anime thing.
No.
It's not a literal horse girl.
It's like they're like preppy. They tend to be preppy white girls from upper middle class backgrounds, and they tend to have horse as a pet, which is very expensive. And they ride the horse because what the fuck else do you do with horses? I guess. And you ride the horse, and they tend to be really weirdly fixated. It's like a trope. Like if you're on Tinder and you see pictures of a girl on a horse, you swipe left on that shit because for some reason I don't know if there's like an intra horse human disease that infects the brain. Something about these people sets them off.
Well, they're weirdly obsessed about the aesthetics
of it. Things about that previously towards the beginning.
I don't
to not
know.
Fuck animals.
Yeah, don't fuck animals.
Yeah, don't do it.
I think it's fair to say that is a very good position to have to say don't fuck animals.
That's the one thing I've learned from my ethics class.
Now, unless of course,
the one lesson I took home.
I'm gonna be weird.
Fucking animals ethically bad.
Yeah, wait, hit it up, Card.
I'm gonna have the weirdest take on this, unless they can demonstrate sapience and understanding and all that. Basically, if it passes the Harkness test, go to town.
Oh, true. Whoa, if a horse started talking to me, absolutely, we're talking fair game right there. Of course. Yeah, 100%.
But the problem is,
5-year-olds can stop.
Speaking, like saying something,
5-year-olds can still talk.
Yeah.
5-year-olds can't consent. We're not making this argument.
Okay, listen. We don't have any ANCAPs in here, so it's fair to say that consent begins and ends with the ability to understand what it means to consent.
When the horse talks, but it opens its mouth and says, you can touch my pee-pee if you want. Monkey.
We've either got
that's what freaks me out about people who talk about. like people who talk about how dogs can consent and stuff like that, like they don't, like dogs don't have the mentality to. That's
Oh,
the
but
problem.
they mounted me. They mounted.
Oh,
No,
no.
stop. No.
Oh.
They can't. They can't. Someone in chat said it. Animals can't give enthusiastic informed consent. Shira Lynn, very true.
Also,
Guys, I
I
think
mean,
we
what is
broke Rosh.
anything? What is anything without enthusiastic informed consent? Fucking boring.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Yeah.
I think we broke Rosh, guys.
Good.
No, it's just fun. It's just funny. Everyone says furries aren't zoophiles. Every time I talk to furries, we get here. I'm just...
Well, it's a
Well,
good
that's
ethical
because
discussion
it
because there are
comes up.
zoophiles. There are legitimate
There
zoophiles
are,
in the
and
community.
they're weird.
I know.
there's
I
actually-
know. I know. I'm not.
There is a
Guys-
huge pushback against zoophiles. In fact, there is like I was specifically engaged with a group that went around and found zoophile groups and was like, "No, we're getting you sent to jail. Go fuck yourself."
Oh yeah.
My
Well,
only.
that's the thing about like self-policing. The furry community, if we're talking about like in relation to anarchism, one of the things that it fits really well is the idea of self-policing. We've gotten so much better at policing ourselves and that kind of doing things like that. It's insane.
God. I remember when I
Yeah.
first joined the furry community, there was no policing at all, and that was like 7 years ago. Like,
Well,
Yeah.
that's the thing. We're starting to like
this kind
have
of kicked
a
off
genuine
when
solidarity.
Well, I think this kind of self-policing kind of started kicking off right around when Ink Bunny became a thing, because it was like, oh, okay, there's a nice alternative to
What's-
FA
what-
where
what's
everything
Ink-
goes.
What's Ink
Okay, so
Bunny?
Ink
Ink
Bunny
Bunny
was
is where all the cub furries fled to when
fuck,
Fur
Cub
Affinity went and banned all that content, and it's basically become this like really weird, creepy, playground kind of fucking website.
Cub furries are exactly along the same lines as Lolicons, and they both need to go fucking
Oh
away.
wait, Cub for okay, wait, yeah, the name makes sense to me now. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like at the end
It's
of the
a key-
day,
it-
at the end of the day, like it's obvious that like one of the reasons people get into furries is because of a fascination with the aesthetics of being an animal. Obviously,
Oh,
like
yeah.
that's clearly
Yes.
the case, and it's obvious that that's probably going to demark itself, at least in some people, in like a cautious interest in the aesthetics of zoophilia. But the difference between like expressing that interest or like satiating it with like anthropomorphization, which is like 99% of furry porn, with it's just got like the cheetah head and like a bumpy cock or whatever, and actually engaging in zoophilia is fucking enormous. In fact, I would be willing to bet the vast majority of zoophiles, at least in the United States, are not like furries or don't even know what furries are. They're just fucking weird rural people, you know?
Well,
Yeah.
they should probably know what furries are, because that'll be like Jesus for them, you know.
Yeah, no, they'd probably
Yeah.
feel real accept. Or wait, hold on. Or, I guess, fucking just like lonely girls who just like fuck the family dog. I don't know. Apparently, that's really common.
Yeah, that was Whitney.
That's a horrifying
That's a very hard.
knowledge.
Yeah.
That's thanks for making me know that, asshole.
It's actually like 70% of all girls.
I hated everything
Wait,
that you say.
Are we
makes
going
me
into the
mad.
dumb incel dog pill shit?
Don't
Goddamn.
take the dog pill. You think, hey fellas, you
This is
can't
the
get
first I've
laid?
heard.
You know who is getting laid? Fucking Bruno. 190 pounds, big
God.
fucking dog dick, knock you can never have. Fucking like the Chad dog, fucking girls left and right. While you're out there fucking quadruple texting Susan, trying to get fucking feet pics for $20. Okay,
I
Bruno is out there, absolutely blasting, just demolishing these holes. Okay,
Oh,
and
wait.
Bruno knots, fucks nuts, and then walks over to get the fucking kibble, drags the girl along behind, just fucking drags them by the knot. It's fucking wild. Take the dog pill. Take the dog pill. It's wake
Okay,
up.
so it's not a pill, it's actually a pepper. If you've ever
Just a
played
depository.
Corruption of Champions.
So hold on. Is Bruno like the new Chad?
Yeah, Bruno is the Chad dog. Brown, he's got a jawline like crazy, big fucking big tongue. They love it. Just big fucking dog dick. And girls can't resist.
All right, cursed thought right here. Incel dogs.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
that's what pretty much 90% of all domesticated dogs are incels.
They're
because they've
fucking
never gotten
incels.
fucked
They
in their
look,
life.
they look so stupid, most dogs. They're stupid, wrinkly faces. I can't stand that shit. Oh,
That's-
God.
Oh god. So Gecko, you weren't here when we were talking about the serious shit. You came in with like the meme stuff. So
Oh, but that's the best. That's the
Yeah,
best.
we missed where we were talking about some kind of anarchism or democratic confederalism shit. God,
Oh, okay. So I guess we have to get back on topic, right?
Only the state
No.
can redistribute Stacy pussy to human males after Bruno's had his fucking
Oh,
fill.
no. That's
Wait,
a
is that
fuck-
like is that like that meme where like where everybody's like making fun of the incel and Karl Marx comes by and it's like we'll redistribute all of the things that you need, and the guy looks up and goes, so you'll give me my state mandated girlfriend? And Marx is like, who the fuck are you? You're so fucking weird. Go away.
My version of the comic, Karl Marx says yes, and then they both like double team a state mandated girlfriend again.
I thought it was gonna be even steamier, where he just says yes, and then Marx dresses up like a girl and is like, "I'll."
Yes, and she takes
like
the fake beard off.
Yeah. No, leaves the beard on. Bearded women.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's an aesthetic, and I respect it.
No.
I
The real
think-
aesthetic is dick girls.
Oh god.
Oh, hello, what?
But so one of the things I wanted to say, like, Vosh, you were exactly right when it comes down to the aesthetics of it, because the reason why people anthropomorphize things is because it's, people want interesting sexual experiences, but at the same time, there's the problem of consent, like with say a dog or something like that. So if you have that dog and say, well, what if that dog was able to enthusiastically and have informed consent? That's basically what
There would be no philosophical
Okay,
argument
cool.
against it at that point. If we had like holodecks where we could just like fuck animals or whatever that are just like, it's just like force fields and computers or whatever, there'd be no reason not to. I think
Wait,
I think getting past the degeneracy of it, I think that part of the reason we're alive is to broaden and diversify our experiences to the greatest possible extent, to live meaningful lives where we can experience everything the world has to offer us. Sometimes some of the things that we might be interested in trying are barred off due to ethical reasons. If you can find ways to circumnavigate those ethical problems, then I don't see any problem with continuing with it. I have no I don't have any problem with the concept of like pleasure seeking or hedonism.
What?
Wait, is that like those hentai comics where like the guy goes over to this girl's house that he really likes, but her cat automatically turns into like this enthusiastically consenting girl, and it's just like, well, I'm having sex with an animal, but it's actually a woman, so I guess that's okay.
I mean, that's a really old story, and dear God, at least nowadays it's like more consensual, because that kind of story in the past has usually involved some form of blackmail.
People have wanted to fuck animals for ages. Look at the fucking Greek stories. Holy shit. These people were fucking their sheep day in and day out. They were so obsessed with it, they had to invent stories of their gods doing it too, so they didn't feel so weird about it. Like these,
Oh my god.
I thought
yeah,
Zeus
the
was
fucking Zeus meme where he just turns into whatever animal that just happens to be moving along, he just fucks whatever woman's
giving them the corkscrew, the classic.
The Minotaur as well, but also my favorite
Pikachu,
response to
don't
a
forget
Paul
about that.
Joseph. Okay, so my favorite response to a Paul Joseph Watson tweet was talking about something. He's doing his usual thing, talking about like and how Greeks were so great. And someone posted a picture of like a vase where there's like three dudes, like one, like the dude was getting planked, like he was getting fucked in the ass and sucking a dick at the same time, and someone depicted it on a vase, and it was just,
Wait, what?
yeah.
I know what this one is. Oh my god.
So they got like a little Eiffel Tower going on there.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The Greeks, they knew how to party.
How many years? Like a few thousand years before the Eiffel Tower was invented.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, back then they didn't have a name for it. They were
I
like, this
remember
this
someone who
position
wanted to
fucking
do that,
rocks.
but
Yeah.
I hope someone comes up with a name for it one day.
I hope there's a metaphor for this in the future. I bet they'll have flying cars, or sorry, flying horseless chariots.
Yeah.
Okay. This is like that's like the 50s style, like retro, where it's like everything's new and cool, but it's all like in a 50s aesthetic, like the Jetson. Like
Honestly,
where
I
it's
would
like,
appreciate the 50s aesthetic.
yeah. There's like something
I
cool
don't-
about
I don't-
retrofuturism.
I think if we're being honest, nobody actually appreciates the 50s aesthetic. They just appreciate the cleanliness aesthetic where everybody's like wearing suits and dresses and things like that. Nobody actually appreciates the specifically 50s aesthetic where they're, throwing blacks into jail because they happen to sit on the wrong spot on the bus.
Well, like,
No, yeah,
conservatives
no,
do,
the
but-
architecture aesthetic of it. The
I'm
architecture.
sorry,
will say-
I'm a
I will
Brutus
say one
Brutus
thing.
fan Here.
the two things that were really good about the 1950s, unironically, I think their car designs were really aesthetic. I stand by
yes.
that. I know they're not as aerodynamic, so for fuel efficiency, today's better, but still, they were really pretty looking.
For fuel
Also-
efficiency, we were better in the 90s because, like, we came up with, like, the most fuel efficient, what is it, Mustang ever in the 90s, and then went back because it looked like a 70s car that way.
I mean, if people aren't going to buy it, then like, what's the point? And also, I have to say, I do have a fondness for swing dancing. I took some Lindy Hop classes back when I was in college. Some East Coast swing, and just the boppity beats going on. You know what I mean? And it's coming back kind of now with electro swing. I think that like dance hall
Electro
aesthetic
swing is
has
the best.
Yeah, that dance hall aesthetic has like a validity to it, you know?
Honestly, I could really be convinced to, get into swing and like do that. Originally, my plan for learning how to dance was capoeira.
The other good part
Oh,
about the 50s was the
capoeira.
Dulles brothers. Am I right? Got them.
True.
Who?
I love overthrowing governments.
I like
Shit.
that. That tastes delicious.
I remember I was reading a book the other day, and I was like, I found CIA tried to do in the Congo where they assassinated the Marxist president. It's just so depressing.
Well, they just can. Well, we still have that though. I mean,
We still
have
do.
it in Venezuela. We're still trying to overthrow governments.
Yeah. Chavez totally died of cancer, boys. Don't worry about it.
I mean, let me stand Cuba for like 5 seconds and talk about how amazing Castro is. That he basically turned the person that was supposed to assassinate him against the very state that hired her, and then married her.
Well, I think the
What?
biggest thing about Cuba is like you have to argue that like
That's a power move.
people who are like wealthy Cubans in Miami who are just like, oh man, Castro sucks. It's like, well, the alternative is Batista, and what you say what you will about Castro, he's not Batista.
Well, and let me kind of throw some background in here. My grandfather's from Cuba, and he absolutely hated Castro. But let's also be real. He owned like 50 acres of estate. So
Gusano, I see.
Well, that's the thing. Also, like people also don't realize, like when you see Cubans in Miami, they're all white, and some people are like, oh yeah, Cubans are all right. No, there's a lot of descendants of slaves in Cuba. The reason why everyone is white in Miami is mostly because Cubans that escaped are actually, God, Vosh, what are you doing?
Can you fucking focus? You're a professional, goddammit.
I'm sorry. I see some fern shit.
Are we actually professionals?
No, I'm not. I'm not a professional.
I don't think any of us are professionals, Uwu.
Can you be professional at talking?
No.
But yeah, so there's a race in Cuba is hugely interesting, and there's a lot of history behind it. But like, I think a lot of it's kind of fetishized because we like to think of Cubans as like white Miami people, when the reality is that there's a lot of descendants of slaves there.
Most of them are still in Cuba.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
So there's this huge statue of Jesus as you come into the Havana port, and the original creator of it basically melded all of the ethnicities of the Havana into this Jesus, and it looks nothing like the white Jesus that we see today. Nothing. And it's actually quite remarkable because it actually shows the diversity of Cuba beyond the whole white Grisano, staying out and hanging in Miami.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also the fact that like the reason why we tend to think of that is because there was a legitimate propagandistic push by the U.S. government to make sure that that is the image that we saw, because that comes out of the 50s and the 60s.
Racism.
Yeah. True.
America racist? Come on.
I don't believe it.
Actually, Vosh, we're the real racist. We've been conning you this whole time. Holy shit.
Fuck! Wait, earlier one of you said I wasn't racist. Does that mean I actually am racist?
No, you're a race realist against the mice, because you want to ghettoize them and think that they can't perform construction work.
True!
You're the real race realist.
Vosh canceled. We own the channel now. Get out.
Damn. Alright, I'll give you this month's earnings.
But
Hello there.
So are we going to talk about actual democratic confederalism again?
I don't know how much time do we have?
Oh, we got this is a long episode. Fuck it. fuck, we'll stay up. But
I've probably got a little bit more because after this I have work to do. Like 20 or so, 20 minutes.
Yeah,
20
I'd say that's about right. But yeah. So my question to you, Gecko, is so what do you think about the article? I talked a little bit about Turkish history beforehand and kind of how it relates to quote unquote the Kurdish question. But yeah.
The Kurdish question, actually the Jewish question in disguise.
Well, literally, they stole that terminology from the Jewish question. They wanted to make it a very racialized thing and be like, what do we do with the Kurds? Rather
because
than
they want to commit genocide, like
Yeah,
they are
yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
It's literally we're creating you as a parallel to the Jews because we actually want to be Hitler and we want to commit mass genocide. But no, so the article was actually really interesting because I felt like the first half of it was just like, hey, fuck the Turkish, not like the people but the government. Fuck the Syrians, not the people but the government. And so we need to actually create a thing, and this is what it means to be a Kurd and what it means to be in Kurdistan. And then Öcalan is basically like, so we need to create something that is democratic, that is not a neoliberal democracy, and
True.
and basically create it to be entirely equal. He has this entire spiel about the making females more equal because everywhere else in the Middle East, the culture is basically subjugating women. And you can actually see this in modern day Rojava by every single election has to have a male and a female representative. Has to. Like it is.
Yeah,
part
they
of
have a
their
separate
process.
women's council for one of their branches of government. Like it's all mirrored by like one woman as well to like counter previously established patriarchal like social structure.
But yeah, that's kind of how you got to do it. That's what federalism kind of is. It's basically trying to take all the society's like hierarchy and flatten it. That's why it's anarchist in a sense.
Oh, it's totally anarchist. Like reading it, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so tying into anarchist systems theory that I'm not even sure why people don't talk about Öcalan more often."
Well, it's because of the Turkish state, but also he's classed as a terrorist. But what ended up happening is you attack a state asset, so like the military, the police, and whatnot, and then the Turkish state would go into the mountains and just kill any Kurd they saw. That's pretty much the Turkish-Kurdish war.
I feel like modern problems require modern solutions. What if we just did some like Ben Shapiro Thug Life cringe compilations of Kurdish ethnic genocide, and we can kind of get public opinion turned in favor of the Kurds that way, you know? It would be like Erdogan, like, you know, you see like a bunch of YPG, like women like dead, you know, like burnt out with their bodies being piled up, and then like it makes the air horn noise. I feel like if we put enough of these cringe compilations together, we could like own Erdogan and maybe turn public opinion against him.
Well, but you have to make sure that you don't get demonetized by YouTube for that.
True,
So,
you do need the ad bucks. You do need the ad bucks.
Yeah. I mean, we just need to, instead of actually contributing anything to Rojava, we need to raise awareness that Rojava exists and do nothing else. Just Rojava
because
exists.
right now they're actually trying to. Erdogan is actually trying to like assimilate Rojava, and the Rojavans, as far as I'm aware, are like, yeah, you know, it kind of sucks, but at least we still go on existing.
Well, no, Bashar al-Assad is doing that because Turkey wouldn't assimilate him. Turkey would just kill him.
Oh, was it Assad doing it? Okay.
Assad, yeah, they turned to Assad, and if Assad has a lot of issues with his government, I mean, let's be real. In our hearts, everyone's a Baathist, but that's a hot take.
Oh no! Oh no! And the Anarchist podcast too. Oh God! Everyone's succumbing. Everyone's falling to the Baathist flavor. Hey, listen, I get it. I understand. I took the Tito pill like 3 days ago.
I'm sorry. I'm still a Huaxist. Just spilled bunkers everywhere.
Oh God, anarcho-monarchist. That's the enlightened centrism of anarchism.
Everybody's a king.
Every man a king. Huey Long gang. Let's go.
I've never spoken to an unironic anarcho-monarchist, but I do know.
There are none.
I do know some unironic anarcho-fascists, and that's good too.
I know one of those. One guy that we like a lot.
Oh, don't! Oh no, Ross.
I won't say his name.
No, we're not bringing up a friend. We're not bringing up friend of the pod.
Uh-oh.
He can stay out of this.
friend of the pod.
That's
Friend of
he's
the
the whole
pod.
reason why we're doing this, though, because literally,
He is literally the only reason. It's the hilarious part.
Literally
Anyways,
Anyways.
out of spite.
quick history of the pod. So the reason why we met in a about furries and anarchism, and there was an ANCAP in there, and we decided to do this podcast because we got so sick of hearing his shit that we were just like, you know what, let's read Conquest of Bread and like show this asshole, and that's what happened.
well, because and it's also there's this huge thing that theory is kind of inaccessible to the majority of the working class and even some of the quote unquote middle class, which isn't a thing, but that's another story, because it's a lot of it is hidden behind a lot of jargon, this academic jargon that pervades a lot of the
It's
theorists.
fucking
because-
impenetrable.
Yeah, because let's even the originator of communism that is supposed to be like the most equal society in the world, and Marx and Engels, they were fucking intelligentista. Like
Mhm.
they didn't have to work. Fucking Marx was a drunkard. Like all they did all day was sit around and write books.
And jerk off.
Well,
Hey, Marx
we
was
cannot confirm nor deny that.
You have no
Okay.
evidence that he
No.
didn't.
They did two things: write books and each other. Yeah, I ship it.
Damn.
Hey, Marx and his wife actually had a really good relationship. Like reading some of their letters, like Marx talking about, you know, after we rid the world of all this hierarchy, I just want to be with you and like frolic in the fields. And it was really cute.
Okay, that's really weird because that's the type of thing I say to my partner.
Well, I think it's cute.
Wait, in general though, men were like fucking gayer back then though. They'd say some weird ass shit to each other. You know, like my
Oh,
heart
God.
longs
Well,
for
no,
your
so-
I was reading this like really bad like reactionary book on communism, and it was talking about like it mentioned those quotes, and then it was like, see, Marx is really feminine in his wiles and how he was really doing things. It showed a disease of his mind. It was written by this fucking Mormon guy who from the FBI, but oh god.
How
was
hard?
bad.
How hard would the praxis be if
Well,
if
I mean,
like
there's
letters
sort
came
of
out
like-
and like Marx was trans?
Okay, so here's
my
the
God.
thing: is it is not too far off because we tend to have a lot. We tend to agree with Marx a lot.
But I mean, yeah, Marx kind of changed the game when it came to, because before then you just had kind of like utopian socialism, and now you have like an actual theory and the dialectic and what.
Well, even the anarchist tradition starts with Proudhon, which basically wrote alongside Marx and berated the fuck out of Marx for creating a, and I quote, cult of personality.
I like that song.
Oh god. I can't wait for trans Marx though.
But-
Okay, hang on, I got you.
But I do want to make a. Hey, look, it's Bruno.
Listen, wait,
Oh,
really
no.
quickly. Can I just say,
So
listen,
where would I post this when I find it?
I'm on the hey, it's in my Discord stream discussion channel. Listen,
Cool.
I'm on the forefront, okay, of the anti-theory line of libertarian socialists, okay? 100%. I'm out here. I believe, and I have always believed this very firmly, and people sometimes make fun of me for this belief, but it's something I genuinely believe in, okay? This obsession with theory being the necessary cornerstone of leftist praxis is cancerous as fuck. And it's
Oh, no, totally.
perpetuated by people who aren't even academics, but who are sub-academics who want to LARP at being academics by pretending that they understand the nuances of books that were written by people that with
And it
like
gives us
6
a
tiers of
halting
education
problem.
higher than them. So they
an
misunderstand
elitism.
what it's elitism, and it's incredibly condescending. And because they don't actually have the drive, or in many cases the intelligence, which is fine, theory is really hard, to understand all of these concepts, they end up misunderstanding them and then repeating like half-baked misinformation to other people. All you need to do good leftist advocacy and good leftist praxis is to recognize on a basic level that capitalism is hurting the world, that it is good to foster equality, well-being, and camaraderie amongst people, and that this can be achieved in, among other ways, workplace and class solidarity amongst workers, and by seizing seizing the means of production. And there's a whole bunch of really simple stuff you can get across in the course of a pamphlet over 15 minutes that, if understood well, would allow most people to be effective leftist advocates for the rest of their lives. The idea that theory is the be-all, end-all, like, book guard on what determines whether or not, like, your form of praxis is valid, I think this is an incredibly reductivist, elitist, cancerous, and counterproductive mentality that the left needs to move past.
And also, it wouldn't hurt that, it's also
I-
a halting problem.
Well, I actually totally agree with you, Vosh, but there's also, I kind of have a different take that kind of counteracts, but sits alongside, because we need to understand theory to know what to do after the revolution, right? And then that's one of the reasons that we started with Conquest of Bread, because it's talking about what do you do after everybody's on board with this leftist theory? What happens after we're all like, okay, let's just dismantle the government? Because if we don't sit down and have at least some part of the leftists who are leading this, some kind of vanguard, I don't know, let's be Leninists now. If we don't have some kind of group that understands how to structure the society to counteract these measures that will lead back into the state, lead back into capitalism, we don't have some kind of group that is like, okay, this is how we can structure things, and this is how we can actually build, dual power, then it just falls apart as soon as we have the revolution. And we
Well,
just
that I do not
bad
disagree with. But I feel like even that understanding can be simplified into truisms that come from, like, the more academic or the more learned people, rather than this expectation that absolutely everyone needs to be familiar with, like, the depths of capital.
Well, there should be a version of all these books that is just translated into a contemporary English.
Everything that you need to know in any of those books by a competent author could be summarized in 20 pages in plain 8th grade English. I believe this very firmly.
And that's
That
why I
is true.
stand memes so hard, because memes are basically the pamphlets of today. Because nobody's gonna sit down and let's be completely honest. Nobody's gonna sit down and read a 15-page pamphlet about why the fuck capitalism sucks. They're gonna laugh at a fucking meme that's about some dude sitting around a fire with two other people in the collapse of society, going, "Yeah, at least we made our stockholders so much fucking money." Like, that's what's going to hit them,
when it
because they're going to
becomes.
be able to laugh at it. They're going to be able to connect with it and be like, wow,
It has
that
to be
fucking
relatable to your
sucks.
life.
Yes.
And of course, that comes with the caveat that memes can
What?
concepts and like stuff like that.
Mhm.
So there is that caveat, but I think in general, what ends up the biggest thing is just that theory is not the be all end all. Theory is a tool we use to try and better make our praxis better. It's a tool that we use to try to understand how to work with the world, and that's
Mhm.
pretty much what it is. It's not about theory being the be all end all, or it's like, ooh man, like holding people at gunpoint and being like, ooh, I'll read this line of Capital from memory. Do you know it? And then, like, if you don't, you're not a true leftist.
You're not
No,
a true
that's dumb.
leftist unless you've read all 4 volumes of Das Kapital and understand them to the extent that you can read them back in the exact same lines that they're written in. Have
That's
fun.
like
And watch
it's
the
just-
anime.
Yeah. It's the same thing where it's like with woke school. It's like a bastardization of leftism. Leftism is all about the lower classes coming together and forming a solidarity and rising up against the upper classes.
Yeah, 100%.
And yeah. And like with like woke schools and stuff like that, almost with them, it's more about the aesthetics of being woke rather than actually being woke.
Wait,
It's
is this
more
like, are you talking about IDPOL?
Yeah, well, idpol is fine. My problem is with a lot of people who like the liberal version of idpol, which is just like don't have the aesthetics of racism. But you can don't like basically just be like, oh, being racist is saying something that can be construed as racist rather than a societal structure that really affects people. And
So, like,
liberalism, yeah.
So like the whole 50% of CEOs need to be POC women.
Yes, 50% of like army generals to be women so we can bomb Yemenis.
Yeah, there are two types of idpol. There's the kind of idpol where you supplant ideas with identity, which is the bad liberal kind of idpol. Oh, it doesn't matter. Things don't need to be accepting or progressive. They just need to have given amount of woman or given amount of people of color. And then there's the
see Barack Obama.
Right. And then there's the broader kind of idpol that everyone engages in, which is politics which are oriented around identity. White nationalism is literally idpol. Idpol is tangential, or sorry, not tangential, is essential to intersectionality, the concept of like, hey, maybe reparations would be a good idea because systemically black people are discriminated against. That's all fine and well. Usually when people disparage idpol, it's like the really fucking like useless, meandering, LARPy liberal stuff. Hey, we're coming up on the 2-hour mark here. I'm gonna have to dip pretty soon. Do we want to hit with like a final praxis?
More black trans.
To counteract redlining, we should evict all of the gentrifiers and just put black people in those communities for free.
Better idea. Housing's a human right.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, 1000% housing is a human right.
Only
Having
1,000?
enough food and water is a human right. There we
Right.
go.
Is that what we're settling on for the true?
I mean,
Yeah,
should we make it
true.
more woke?
Yep.
Should we make it more woke?
No, that's fine. We can settle with that. True!
Water.
Absolutely.
Oh, healthcare.
Being a billionaire is a human right. There we go. True.
Everyone feels weird, man. Everyone, I want to see some unhappy frogs in chat right now. Quickly, everyone turn it around. No
Way
more
to
trues.
go.
No more trues. False. Not true.
I will be honest. This is not the way I expected this stream to
Right.
go, but it's almost good that it.
Sorry, someone asked for
This
it.
has been fun. This has been very, very fun. I enjoyed it a lot.
I'm glad I was actually able to make the last little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was a lovely time, and I really appreciate you guys letting me on.
Oh yeah,
No, we
yeah.
appreciate you letting us on.
This was
Gee.
interesting.
Oh fuck yeah. Yeah, I mean the biggest thing is like we're trying to like, kind of grow and kind of do stuff, and like letting us on this platform has been really awesome. It's good praxis, Vosh, you see.
Yes.
I think to kind of put forward this idea, I think one of our major end goals, not only for this podcast, but just as leftist furries, is to make an artist union in the furry community.
I'm down for that.
Think that we need to have one.
Second person should just have to
I
make
am
weird.
in favor of leftist ideology spreading through literally any social venue where it is possible for that to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the fashion.
Yeah. So as a finale,
Oh
please,
God.
to the extent to which you are comfortable and able, shout yourselves out, shout your content out, and then make sure to email me afterwards to give me a link to everything specific that you would like linked alongside the video that I'll release of this.
Yeah. So I have a YouTube channel. It's called Confight. I'm trying to. It's 2 A's instead of KAHN. But yeah, I'm currently working on a video about furries. But also, if you want to see a really funny video, I went to a Cutco interview and intentionally bombed it by pretending to be a really weird furry and talking about sex all the time. That's a fun video.
Wait,
one of my
that's a weird-
best.
Oh my God.
That is the best video ever, but it's really a mark
That's a good
against
point.
Cutco. So if you really like that shit, visit my channel. My channel's kind of a clusterfuck right now, but I'm trying to do things. I swear. Yeah, that's my shit.
Nice.
So I guess I'll go next because nobody else is talking. So I'm just a Feilong. I'm just a gecko that just shit posts all day. I have a Telegram channel. I guess that's Praxis, man. I don't know. That's pretty much it. I got this podcast, but yeah, I shit post all day.
Polo. I'm Carden. I do commission work. I have a FA page, Twitter, and all that.
Isn't it
Also-
under Carbon Drake Rev, I believe?
Yeah, I mean, I can send you the link if you need it for linking purposes, because I'm not going to recite a Twitter thing on the thing. Oh my God.
True! And Zulikath, do you have
Bye-bye.
anything that you would like to shout out?
Not a whole lot. You've been a very great host. Thank you so much.
Oh no, not at all. I'm just listen. I didn't do the fucking reading. Okay, like with college, I came unprepared. I have a
What a
few
true
memes. I'm
leftist.
compensating. Okay, that's what I got.
Hey.
Leftist.
Right.
Oh, one more thing I
Yeah.
wanted to plug. Speaking of not doing the reading, I also run a Warhammer 4 podcast that's leftist themed, Sig Marxism. it's kind of in it's kind of in flux right now because we had some issues with one of our members, but don't worry about that. So like if you want to follow Sig Marxism and you want to hear and like cool shit, hey, you should do that. You know, that's the other podcast I run. We're doing some stuff. There's also a good subreddit on that. So if you like Warhammer and you like leftism, there's a sub for that.
I do. I like both of those things actually. I used to play the tabletop game.
Oh fuck! I'm trying to get into the tabletop game. I'm sitting here with my Thousand Suns mini on my side. And,
do you make at least $200,000 a year? Don't get into the tabletop game.
Hey. No, that's the reason why I started this podcast. Okay, I want to have enough. Spend it all on frivolous plastic, okay?
Well, listen, Godspeed.
Get those. Grifter. It's only money game.
Listen, get those sprues somewhere, okay? God, get them off eBay because, oh God, man, I remember when my first Lehman Russ, that was like a whole birthday gift back when I was in high school. I was like, mommy, like, thank you for these 6 ounces of plastic. I know the credit card took a big hit on this one. Oh boy, oh God, I miss those days though.
I am more, even though I do have 1,000 Sun. Well, I've been playing more Kill Team, which is nice. It's kind of like a skirmish game, but as much as I love Tzeentch, my heart goes to Nurgle. Nurgle, baby.
Fucking degenerate, Of course it does.
Yeah.
Fucking degenerate. Hey, how dare you?
It's true. It's true. It's not a Slanesh pick. I know, true. All right, folks. I really, really appreciate the camaraderie. I hope all of you have a phenomenal evening. And I was delighted to have the opportunity to speak to all of you.
Same to you, man.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Cheers, comrade.
Have yourselves a wonderful day, and best of luck with this project as it continues in the future.
You're not the boss of me.
Fair. True! And with that true, we depart. Farewell.
Farewell.
What nice people. Oh, I forgot trans rights. I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure I would have gotten a trans rights from that crowd. Back's a little sore. I'm pretty sure I would have gotten a trans rights from that crowd. Doesn't feel like that one would have been too difficult. That was actually a lot of fun. I had never talked to any of those folks before. No idea if they would be like weird or whatever. But no, that was a lot of fun. I had fun. Fuck yeah. Here, let's let me read donations real quick and I'll reactivate them so they show up when they appear. And oh boy. You should probably get back into Warhammer now that you can afford it. I can afford it now, but I don't have time for it anymore. How'd you not end up talking about dragons and fantasy anthropomorphies? I'm sorry. I feel like that was a reasonably horny podcast, you know? Tell me again how you don't like circle jokes. Well, we weren't all just sitting there agreeing with each other. We were discussing things and making jokes. I'm fine with that. The reason why I say I don't like circle jerks, is if I brought someone on who I just agreed with and the only thing we have in common is leftism and we're just there to talk about leftism, what am I doing? You know? What's Gray Days with the $2. Centaurs. True. Cats because yeah with the $5. Fellow furry content meme maker here. What? The right tends to try and infiltrate nerdy fandoms. Are furries the exception, with right-wing furries fleeing to separate groups, i.e. furry raiders? I think furries have their own contingent of right-leaning participants, I have to say. Well, we'll see how the fucking Milo Yiannopoulos FurCon thing goes, right? That'll be a dootsy do, a fucking doo-doo do. Will it not? It will. That's the answer. Zero Net Dipole Moment Bear with the $5. Ask them for their fur affinities, you cowards. You're right, I should have. I'm sorry. I fucked up. Dumb Non Blonde with the $5. I'm a furry. Went to FurCon. I approve. Damn, keeping the degeneracy going. I love it. I respect that. I hope you had a good time at FurCon, Dumb Non Blonde. I've never been to a furry convention, and I probably never will, because to be honest, I don't like fursuits, and easily turn against communities when I see members of those communities doing something cringeworthy. Oh man. Every time I go to Anime Expo, my faith in my interest in anime is tested, you know? But for the most part, AX has actually been not very cringy for me, so that's good. Title Punk Roller Girl with the $5. It's called a spinneret, you rube. Oh, sorry, Title Punk. My apologies for the improper spider fuckhole terminology. Sake Tanuki with the $5. What about the fry paradoxes? If only I knew what that meant, Sake Tanuki. If only I knew what that meant. I love you, Sake Tanuki. I hope you know that. I really do. You mean the world to me. And Sad Bad Boy with the $5. You should debate a liberal about gun control. You would unironically be able to reach those who are usually alienated from leftism. I don't disagree, actually. I think that'd be a really good conversation to discuss gun control with a more center, or maybe even right-leaning liberal. I think that would be pretty good. Yeah, I think that would be pretty good. It's one of those wedge issues that you can use to bring people over to the left. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed that. It was pretty fucking silly, but I got more than what I expected, and I had a good time. I love you all very much. I've got work to do, and I've got some stuff early tomorrow morning. I have I'm doing an interview with I believe a professor. I need to check my calendar, but we're going to talk about the potential for militaries developing within an anarchist state. Not state. Anarchist society, you know? So we're going to talk about that, which is funny because it's relevant to the podcast we just did because it pertains to the ability for anarchist societies to defend themselves. Also, tomorrow at 2 p.m., Hyena is going to stream for the very first time. She's going to do it the next room over, just right over there, from the laptop, from the very same laptop from which I streamed to you guys for the first few months of me being a streamer before I got this computer. How do we engage in other communities to push them into leftists? The anti-MLM separate the collapse seem really prone to radicalization, but furry communities can also be targeted. Secretary, it's all about finding wedge issues to get them interested in what you have to say and then breadpilling them. You have to be interesting, liked, or respected by somebody before they're going to listen to your political perspective. Anyway, again, Hyena's streaming tomorrow at 2. My big booby GF, the big honkers, will Yeen have face cam? Yes, she will, though it won't be as HD as mine. And mine's not even that good, honestly. She's going to be using my old camera. She's basically using my hand-me-down streamer equipment. She's using my old laptop, my old Ethernet cable, my old camera, and my old microphone. So I guess it's a good thing that I kept all those around, huh? Would you be willing to get another furry podcast on? If I do, probably like a long while from now. I'm trying to do like a bunch of more academic stuff right now, and then after that I want to slide back into some really comfy, familiar debates and video debunks, you know? Maybe one day, Aurora. Anyway, when Hyena streams tomorrow at 2 after my stream, she'll be going by vermin.gg. That's her. Like vosh.gg, vermin.gg. Is Hyena a furry? Yes. All right. I love you all very much. I hope you have a phenomenal day, night. I'm very tired. I'm gonna go eat. I might also poop. That's also a thing people have to do sometimes, you know? Oh, Sai with the $1 giving you one of my last 3 because I need you to shill for my art Twitter so I can make rent. Sai, I'm happy to help, but do be careful about using me as a shill source. I don't know what the returns are in that, and it makes me feel used. Wait a second, you're actually quite talented and you only have 1 follower? What the fuck are you doing? Folks, go to there, I posted in chat. Go to fucking Cyvalkai. Cyvalkai? Go to Cyvalkai's fucking Twitter over there. Get the fuck over there. Get over there. Look at that art. That's pretty good art. Nice painterly. Good paint. Painty. Haha stinky. Poo poo. Do it up. Get over there. What are you doing? Get over there. What are you doing? Get over there. Alright, I'm out. Peace. Godspeed, Sai.